My name's Carson. Welcome back to Thrifty Garage. On this snowy day, we're going to do a comparison of new versus semi-used versus really used work trucks. We've also got a fourth one here that we've sold, and we're going to be doing a conversation of diesel versus gas, as well as cheap truck, $5,000 work truck versus $60,000 work truck, and everything in between. This is not just going to be Chevy related. In between these Chevy trucks here, we've got about 100,000 miles that we've put on them, but I have experience in working with Ford and Dodge, but this will be a little bit more beneficial if you are a Chevy fan and you want Chevy trucks, because I believe the GMT 800, the 6.0 gas, is a great option, and there is some problems with every single brand, and so we'll kind of talk about Chevy related problems as well as Chevy related pros, but really it's going to be a how to know what kind of work truck you should buy, from a really, we're going to talk about the numbers, we're going to talk about mileage, we're going to talk about prices, again, gas versus diesel, so stay tuned. This one's going to be an action-packed video. So for a brief introduction here, we've got our $60,000 work truck. This is a 2018 Chevy 3500 HD with the Duramax, and this truck has about 70,000 miles on it. Next up, we've got our 2015 Chevy Silverado 2500 HD with 6.0 gas, has about 170,000 miles on it. And then we've got our extended cab, 8-foot bed, 2002 with 270,000 miles on it. Again, 3/4 ton truck, 2500 HD. And then what's not here, we sold it, is a 2007 Chevy Silverado Classic 2500 HD with the LBZ Duramax. So we'll have a good comparison. It was 175,000 miles, so really close comparison to this. And gas versus diesel. So we've got two diesels, two gas trucks, and that'll be kind of our basis of our comparisons. And this will basically just be a cost of ownership. I don't have any things pre-made up, I'm just winging this, so bear with me, but it should be pretty straightforward. Basic cost of ownership, I've always done this when I buy vehicles, is I'll just take the purchase price of the vehicle, I will take the usable miles left of the vehicle and then divide it, and then I will compare it to other vehicles I'm looking at and give me a rough value of the vehicle to try and get the best bang for my buck. So here we've got cost of trucks, 5K. These are not exactly what I paid for these trucks, but this is kind of the realm of what they're in. This truck is a diesel, this truck is diesel, this truck is gas, this truck is gas. Broad overview, what are the basic pros and cons of new versus used? New, we've got reliability. Used, we've got low cost. Reliable, cost. Part of our cost too is maintenance. MPG, or fuel mileage. So all of these trucks we've gone through and done a towing test, and I'll tell you right off the bat, you're looking at 3/4 1-ton trucks. Doesn't matter if you're towing heavy, we're towing 10 to 14,000 pound trailers. Even on the diesels, we're getting under 10 miles a gallon. Let's say on a gas, you might be getting 6 miles a gallon on the low end. On a diesel, you might be getting 8 or 10 miles a gallon. Where you're going to get your MPG is if you're doing a lot of empty driving. So the diesel I've seen get upwards of 20 or 25 even on a rare day. So I would say on average 18 to 20 on the high end for a diesel. The gas trucks, they're getting 10 to 12 all the time. Maybe 14 if you're lucky, but really maybe even only 8 to 12. So MPG, it's really not a big difference. Honestly, I think diesel is an owner's truck. For employees, it's just going to be gas unless you're towing heavy all the time or you're doing cross-country trips where there is a little bit better highway miles per gallon. Reliability. These trucks, by far, have been the most reliable. Part of that is due to age, or lack of age, and part of that is due to lower mileage. I would rather drive a high mileage, low year truck than a really low mileage, low year truck. I would rather drive a 2018 with 300,000 miles than a truck from 2000 with 50,000 miles. There's a lot more that goes into a vehicle use than just mileage. So reliability on these two trucks is low. Cost, obviously the cost just keeps going up. We've got $1 sign here, We got $4 signs there. Maintenance on these two trucks. So we've got a 2002, we got a 2007 Classic, we got a 2015, and we got a 2018. All these are 3/4 tons except for the 18. Picked up this truck, first of the year, put it to work. I searched high and low for the cleanest truck. I didn't care about mileage. I didn't care about four-wheel drive. I just found the cleanest I could. It had some body rust, but I thought I found a gem. And boy, was I wrong. First visit to the mechanic, over $10,000 repair bill. I whittled that down and only spent about $3,000 to $4,000 doing just literally the bare essential. So huge cost to get this up to really running condition. Still not even done all the maintenance I need to there. I've got a check engine light on it right now, and I need to do knock sensors on that. The LBZ Duramax, tons of maintenance. So again, one of the cons to these GMT 800 trucks, and even the newer ones, Chevy is a driver's truck. They're nice to drive, it's smooth, it's got the front independent front suspension, but it's not a heavy duty suspension and it needs a lot of work. I put probably $5,000 or $10,000 into repairs in this truck, and a lot of those repairs was replacing the entire front end suspension, steering, all of it, leaking hoses, all sorts of stuff with that truck. So lots of maintenance over the course of about 3 years. So not as bad as this truck, this really cheap truck. First couple months, lots of money, whole brake system replaced, had to pull the transmission, had a cracked flex plate, had everything that could leak was leaking. The whole engine still is leaking, did not make a lot of those repairs. So this one does consume oil. We get up here on the maintenance to these other trucks. Hardly done anything to this. This truck, I believe, has a leveling kit, and we did have to put a new CV shaft in it when we bought it, and I think I had to put a second CV shaft in it shortly thereafter. So I think something may be wrong with the leveling kit, or the leveling kit is causing the front drivetrain to wear out prematurely. But that truck, I bought it, I put a new seat in it, I put in some cosmetics, just nice stuff. The steering wheel's falling apart. But really, it wasn't necessary. It wasn't needed. It was just, I replaced the seat belt. It was just, nice convenience things, not really reliability or drivability items. So really low maintenance on that one. Back into the diesel. Great truck, no issues, aside from just replaced a glow plug. So brand new truck, check engine light goes on, had to replace a glow plug in order for the remote start and for winter reliability. So diesels have problems, and you're not getting the miles per gallon out of them that I would hope you would get to pay for that cost difference. So again, I prefer it as a owner, but it's hard for me to justify a diesel for employees because there's really, it doesn't add up on the costs right here. So maintenance costs, these are high. You get over 200,000 miles, you start adding costs. You get over 10 years old, you start adding up costs. Okay, MPG, again, not great. Here's how I look at these trucks. I believe a diesel truck is going to go 250, 300,000 miles with pretty low maintenance issues. So I look at what is the usable life of these trucks. These trucks currently have, again, 270. Bought this truck with 125K and then put 50,000 on it. So I sold it with about 175K for Carvana for just over $10,000. This truck, founded after it was sold to Carvana, they had it listed for $24,000. So they bought it for 12, 13, and they put in some ton of work into the body. It was a work truck when I sold it. It was a nice driver when they got done with it. This truck was listed at basically $25,000, so with 175,000 miles. 2015, this truck has 170K. This truck has 70K. When you do a cost analysis, there's a lot of things you can get into. You can put in fuel costs, you can put in miles per gallon, you can put in maintenance costs, tires, brakes, all those things. When we buy our equipment, skid steers, it talks about your DEF fluid for your diesels, it talks about the replacement cost of tracks. There's a lot of nitty-gritty details you can add into a cost analysis of a cost of ownership over time. But I just look at it kind of base level. What's the cost of the vehicle? What's the cost of the vehicle when it's done? When it's ready to send out to the graveyard, what's that vehicle worth? Honestly, this truck right here, That truck's worth $5,000 all day long every day. It's basically at the lowest it's gonna go is $5,000. For an LBZ Duramax, I would say it's worth $10,000 to $15,000 on the low end. Even if it has 250, 300,000 miles, it's gonna be worth $10,000 to $15,000. These gas trucks, when I do my numbers, I like to put the gas trucks in it like 200,000 miles is their usable life. These 6.0 gas trucks with the GMT 800s and even the newer ones, they just last forever. 270,000 miles, the engine's solid. Again, you're gonna have a lot of maintenance costs, and a truck's usable life is indefinite. I mean, you could run any of these trucks to 1,000,000 miles. The problem is how many times you're gonna replace the body on this truck that's starting to rust out. So these trucks can, in my mind, can go 200,000, but in reality, probably go 250, 300 easily. The diesels can go even longer, potentially. Really, it's the body, the suspension, all those other components that start wearing down and making it not a usable truck. This truck right here, end of life replacement cost. Right now, to buy a 2015 Chevy Silverado with 300,000 miles on it, gas engine, you could probably get $20,000 for it all day long. Okay, so let's look at these numbers. End of life. Let's just say 300,000 miles across the board. End of life, EUL. Okay, so we've got 30K miles remaining. 125, 130K, 230K. End of life value. Let's just say this truck's worth 5K end of the day. This truck's worth 10K end of the day. 2015, let's say this truck is worth 20K. And I'm just throwing out rough numbers. You can do your own math. I mean, if you think that truck's only worth 15, so be it. Let's say the truck's worth 30K. Even with 500,000 miles, I can see that truck selling for $30,000. Okay, so now that we've calculated what the vehicle's worth after we're done using it, we can now say, hey, what's this minus this? This cost of ownership is $0. This cost of ownership is $5,000. This cost of ownership is $10,000. This cost of ownership, $30,000. We can also see how many years of life we get out of that vehicle. This vehicle, we only have 30,000 miles left. If we do 15,000 miles a year, we're gonna get 2 years. This truck has 125,000 miles left. That's 8 years. We got 8 years here as well. Then we got 230 divided by 15. We got 15 years there. So once we know our years, we can look at our cost per year. So we got 30,000 divided by 15 years. We got $2,000 per year. 10,000 divided by 8 years. We got $1,250, 1.25. Okay, we got $5,000 divided by 8 years, $625 a year. And then we got 0 cost for 2 years. So as you can see here, the cheaper the truck, the lower cost per year. But what we're not factoring in here is the cost of maintenance. We got high maintenance cost here, and we got low maintenance cost here. We got a higher cost per year here for just the vehicle, but we didn't account for these. I would say this truck, I probably put in let's say $5,000 per year of maintenance costs. This truck, I said I put in 3 to 4. I probably should be adding, probably should plan on about $5,000 maintenance costs on that per year as well. So cost per year just went up $5,600. We don't have 0 maintenance costs on these. We're gonna have a set of tires every year. We're gonna have other stuff too. So there is gonna be some cost there, but what costs are the same, what costs are different. So really what we're looking for here is we're looking for the difference of cost, or what the more cost is for these vehicles here. As you can see here, maintenance quickly becomes the main point of contention here, not the initial purchase price. With the newer, nicer trucks, you're paying, if you're getting it on a loan, you're paying for a 5-year loan for the first 5 years, and then you're getting the next 10 years for free. So it's already paid off. I would still, as a business owner, be putting that money away. Those next 10 years, you can then just be putting money into maintenance costs, and it's really relatively low. So if you look at our cost per year, buying these newer trucks, you probably are better off. This truck has probably been one of my biggest learning experiences. Let's not call it regrets, learning experiences. One of my biggest changes I would make moving forward with this $5,000 truck is I now realize I have to have a 4-wheel drive. 4-wheel drive is mandatory for our business. We do snow removal. As you can see, it snowed. We just did a salt run, pretty small storm event, but snow is not a huge portion of our business, but for 3 months out of the year, it's a big priority for us. And when it snows, that 2-wheel drive truck sits. It cannot be used. It is completely worthless. Our little 4-wheel drive Toyota Tercel is a million times better in the snow than it, and we have used that to run salt. So this truck should have paid, would have been well worth spending an extra $5,000 for a four-wheel drive system. That said, I have really told myself I don't want these trucks anymore. I do not want pre-2015. The 2008, 2015, they're decent year trucks, but I believe that the suspension on these is really refined, it's really solid, and I think for the price point, a 2015 or newer truck, you're gonna get way more bang for your buck. Your cost per year is gonna be down at the lowest. Your maintenance cost is gonna be down low. I would even buy a 2015 with 250,000 miles on it, and I believe it was gonna go a lot further, a lot longer than these lower mileage, older trucks will. Again, I'm more concerned about age of the vehicle than I am actually mileage of the vehicle. So I think I've in my experiment here, I said, hey, let's get a high mileage truck. Let's see how that does for us. If the engine blows, we'll figure that out. The drivetrain on this truck has given me no issues. The drivetrain on this truck gave me no issues. The electrical on this truck specifically gave me a ton of issues. So again, there's a lot of stuff that just starts to come into play with these older vehicles that's 10 years and older. It's not worth it to me. Not worth it. Don't want to touch it. I'd rather have a high mileage, newer one if I can get it for the cost. But this is how I determine my costs. And when I'm looking at a dozen or more trucks, I put them into this calculator and I put it in a spreadsheet and I just enter in the year, the mileage, the cost, and I have a formula pre-built. Into there is what's the cost of the vehicle after end of life, how many miles it has, and how many miles is end of life, and I let it just give me a number, and it helps me compare a whole bunch of different trucks so I can see one truck will stand out and say that's a great deal. This $30,000 truck, I got an amazing deal on that. I bought that in 2020, no, it was in 2021, and I got it for honestly closer to this price. This is what it's going to retail at. That's what both insurance and the bank said it was worth, but I got it closer to this price. So you're gonna find those gems if you know what you're looking for, and you're gonna see that stood out to me so fast, and I went to scoop that. I was able to pick up that truck for pre-COVID pricing. Couldn't be happier. Again, one of my biggest regrets here is I couldn't find 5 more trucks like that one, because that is the perfect work truck. And part of the reason I got a good deal on that too is it has a flatbed. People that want a flatbed, it's worth a little bit less. There's a lot smaller buyer pool. So if you can kind of find a truck that makes you work, that's not a traditional vehicle, you might save a lot of money by doing that. Would I buy a diesel again? I've been disappointed in the new diesel trucks, and a lot of that is emission related. I see buying a diesel truck right now today the same as buying a car back in the 80s and late 70s. When all the emission systems got put in those vehicles, they all went to crap. They all had problems. Nobody wants a car from that period of time because there's so many issues around the emissions, and that's what diesel trucks are going through right now. They're going through a growing process, a learning process. I think at the end of this, we're gonna have trucks that get better gas mileage, are more environmentally friendly, all sorts of stuff, but there is this hurdle, this learning period where we're gonna have to push through, and we're not through it yet. So I think right now is the time to buy gas trucks. Gas mileage is the same, cost is a lot less for a gas truck in fuel and in the initial purchase price. Maintenance costs, we didn't talk about maintenance costs, but diesel trucks, every other oil change, have to do a fuel filter change. There's a lot of maintenance I've never done on my trucks, and part of the reason I got rid of this truck is probably because I didn't do more preventative maintenance and just needed to let it go. The other problem with these trucks is I've gotten to the point now where we've got 3 vehicles in our fleet. I don't have time personally to maintain everything, so I'm sending it off to a shop. My shop has no problem working on these gas engines. The second I say it has a diesel, they don't even want to touch it for normal stuff, suspension, whatever. Luckily, I've got a good relationship that they do take care of me, but they don't want to touch my diesel trucks. And I end up having to do stuff like changing out the glow plugs myself because no one else wants to touch it. And the couple of shops we have here in town that do diesel repairs, I've heard some really bad horror stories about them, and I've kind of decided I'm not going to them until I find a good local diesel mechanic that knows what they're doing. So at this moment, I've decided no diesels for the crew. I'm okay with the diesel for myself. I've talked about that in separate videos about gross vehicle weight ratings. I'm a fan of gas. I'm okay with high mileage. I want low maintenance costs, because with maintenance costs is also another hidden cost of business, and that's downtime. Downtime makes this number right here go up even higher. If I don't have a usable truck, what's the point? I might as well have a backup truck, and if I have a backup truck, costs just keep going up. So downtime and maintenance is so expensive. It quickly makes sense to be paying $1,000 or $2,000 per year for these vehicles, rather than be paying $5,000 in maintenance costs, because it's so expensive because the truck is just falling apart. These are kind of hidden costs that you don't see. You buy this truck for $5,000, $15,000. It seems reachable for some people, and people have to start here, but you don't realize how quickly that is just nickel and diming you through that process. Give me a grade down below. How good of a school teacher am I? Hope you learned something new. Hopefully this helps you buy vehicles, whether it's work trucks or personal vehicles. I've always kind of done this, divided the cost by the usable life of mileage, possibly take into account maintenance costs, fuel mileage, other costs that you think are necessary or pertinent to your needs, and then find the vehicle that best meets your needs and have some numbers to prove it, rather than just going off a gut feeling. Whenever I buy a vehicle, the numbers tell me that that's the right vehicle for me. So hopefully you learned something new here today. If you aren't already subscribed to the channel, please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching Thrifty Garage. Okay, welcome to the Thrifty Garage classroom.